the tippy canoe.
Let's go get a bagel.
Little sausage and egg on the everything bagel.
All right, we're off again in the dirty canoe.
Oh, goodness gracious. That's a Tonka tank. Look at that fat pig, huh?
Welcome to AnglingBuzz. In this episode, we're focusing on early season panfish. Now, looking around the upper Midwest, there have been some great fishing reports coming in from North Dakota on the Missouri River, mainly for walleye. And looking down in South Dakota in the Glacial Lake regions for multi-species fishing has been excellent. The next weekend inland fishing opener is happening in Wisconsin. That should be awesome. People are already fishing around Green Bay and the rivers and tributaries there as the season never closes. Here in Minnesota, it's all about panfish. And one suggestion we do have this time of year is setting your highlight depth feature on your electronics to 5 feet or less in bright red. This will help identify any potential hazard areas that you don't want to hit with your outboard motor. And another suggestion is setting your highlight depth feature to 5 to 10 feet. This is going to help identify the spawning areas of both panfish and walleye. Now, panfish, they're going to be in the bays, and walleye, they're going to be out on the main lake flats around the spawn. Today, we're joined by Sam Sobi, Sobiak, YouTube extraordinaire. Sam, how's the season been rolling along so far?
Hey Troy, thank you so much for having me. Spring has been good so far for my pals and I. We've been left, we've been right, we've been center. Basically, we started the season off with some spring pan fishing on Lake Minnetonka in the metro area.
On.
Dub.
On.
Dub.
Are we doubled up?
We're dubbed.
That sun poked his nose out.
Ooh, mine feels good.
Oh, mine feels good too. Yeah, baby!
Perfect cutter, so is mine. Yeah.
Doubled up.
From there, we bounced out to Wisconsin and kind of chased the walleye run.
Dude, that is a stud, dude. So fat.
And we got to see things develop. Like, you know, we've had a lot of warm stretches this spring, and we kind of got to experience the full walleye spawn out there. We were catching fish out in the lake and the tributaries adjacent, and it was a really good time to set the hook on some walleyes and kind of knock the rust off.
Look at how fat she is. Totally egged up, no doubt. No doubt. Beautiful. I don't know, maybe 20-inch female, 21-inch female. Let her go.
From there, we shot all the way to South Dakota, that kind of the Webster area, your Prairie Pond area, and we're just indulging. We're indulging on some early season bass fishing and harvesting some walleyes too. But from here, we're going back to the metro, we're putting our heads down, and we're getting after some spring crappie action.
Yes, you and Hayes have been posting some pretty big fish this spring. Now, when we're talking about locations and presentations, what are your thoughts on first finding fish and then catching them?
Yeah, spring is an amazing time to fish crappies and panfish alike. All winter, a lot of these fish, particularly the crappies, will be hanging out in the basin, and they're kind of making a migration now, all the way up toward the shallows. We're looking for shallow, warm bays, shallow, warm cuts. Besides that, cover that's close to these areas. So once you've found good water temperature or your highest water temperature on the lake, we see what cover is available in these bodies of water. So whether that be weeds, docks, wood, or anything else that these fish could potentially hold to while they stage and feed up before they really get up shallow and do the birds and the bees. As far as finding them and really finding these key areas, a pair of polarized sunglasses can be your best friend this time of year. Good buddy Hayes and I, one of us will drive the boat, one of us will be up top, and we're basically just putting our shades on, and we're either looking for pods of fish up shallow cruising around, or looking for big, beautiful, thick weeds. We love keying in on weeds this time of year. The thicker, the taller, the better. And after that, if you're fishing a dirty body of water, basically you can side image around, find the cover, find the fish, get after them.
Yeah, you find the cover. Generally speaking, this time of year, you find the fish. Now, what are some key baits you have for targeting panfish right now?
This is the beauty of spring crappie fishing. You don't need much. This is basically my whole crappie kit right here. I fit everything I'd like in it. Hair jigs are really good, tinsel jigs are really good, and just a jig and a plastic you're choosing are really good. As far as colors go, you cannot beat pink and white. Keep it simple, pink, white, or just white. And as far as the rigger approach, a bobber or a float is extremely deadly this time of year. Whether it's a slip bobber or basically a clip-on bobber, it keeps your bait in that strike zone, and you can really kind of fish that section of the water column you want to be in, depending upon how deep you're fishing. If it's a really windy day, don't be afraid to upsize your jig, put on a bigger bobber, make long casts, and just work more aggressive. If it's very calm and it seems like the bite's finicky, don't be afraid to downsize. Smaller bobbers, smaller jigs. Go from your 132nd down to your 164th. And also, don't be afraid to buy some live bait. A scoop of minnow can do wonders in the spring. So look for those light bites, especially on your bobber. They just might move a little bit. Swing at them. Hook sets are free. So yeah, this is an amazing time of year to chase spring crappies, and you need to get out and do it.
Yeah, it's tough to beat a bobber and jig this time of year for panfish. Sam, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time, and good luck this season.
Thanks, Troy.
In our next segment, we're joining Jeremy Smith up on Leech Lake, where he's going to talk about some of the panfish opportunities that are there.
Got him. What do we have? Could it be a crappie?
Oh, nice one.
Oh yeah. Boy, look at that. That's just an elephant.
That's what we're looking
Wow, it's a beast. Wow, that is a huge, huge crappie. Do you think you like that little X-Wrap? And do you think that a hard bait is too small for a crappie? I don't think so, man. Not even close. Not even close. I mean, that is a spectacular fish, and if we get lucky, we might land on a whole pile of these things. What makes this place so special has a lot to do with how it's managed. So let's hear from my buddy Doug at the Minnesota DNR about what they're doing to make sure that Leech Lake remains a trophy crappie destination for years to come.
Leech Lake is easily among the premier destinations for panfish in Minnesota, and I would argue probably in a number of places throughout the upper Midwest in particular. We've got really high size quality, good growth rates. Obviously being further north, it takes a little longer for our fish to reach those trophy sizes than they do further south. But you know, to put it in perspective, in the same time it takes to grow and harvest 3 trophy bucks, that's the amount of time it takes to produce a trophy bluegill over 10 inches or a crappie over 15 inches.
As Jimmy would say, a real Leech Lake special.
So Leech Lake in north central Minnesota, 112,000 acres, is really unique in that roughly half of that surface area is less than 15 feet deep. And that's really productive water and ideal water in a lot of cases for growing nice panfish and bass. Especially because a lot of it has really good vegetation. And then part of Leech also, with its irregular shape, is it's kind of like having 7 different lakes in one with some of these large bays. And some of those bays are Boyan Headquarters bays, for example, on the east side. You know, average depth is about 4 or 5 feet, and a lot of vegetation and wild rice. You know, that's ideal habitat for growing panfish. And we're fortunate in that regard here with how good of a multi-species fishery Leech is because we have the very different habitat types here.
It's just so cool how the big lakes in Minnesota just tend to produce so many big fish.
You know, I've seen crappies up to 17 inches here, black crappies, and bluegills, you know, approaching 11 inches, so the size quality is very high. Reduced bags has been our best tool to improve or maintain that kind of size quality in panfish populations in Minnesota.
That is a monster, man, oh man.
The size quality that we have here is exceptional, and then add to it, you know, the unique multi-species aspect of this lake, and it really does have a lot to offer to anglers of all types.
Just some absolute magnums. That's what's so fun about fishing a place like this, is you never know what might happen. I mean, not only is it great for numbers, but also quality. I mean, you can catch the fish of a lifetime up here, whether it's a giant crappie, a huge walleye, the biggest muskie of your life. Leech Lake is absolutely fabulous for multi-species fishing, spring, summer, and fall. I just love this place, and the way they're managing panfish now, it's going to be great for many, 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 many years.
Leech Lake, it's an awesome fishery, not only for panfish, but for bass, walleye, and muskie. Now, talking more about panfish, up next we're joined by Brian Brosdahl.
You know, I really love catching crappies, and in the springtime is a great time to get them. They're schooled up, and the action can be fantastic. And so what I like to do, I like to use a search bait as I'm checking out a lake, and I have a deep V spin, and this has a little spinner at the bottom. And this is a really cool jig, but add a 3-inch eye candy plastic. So this is a little plastic. They come in a bunch of colors. You can see some good crappie colors right there. Bright colors get them, and depending if you're in dark water, this would be a good one. And the deep V spins, look at that nice willow leaf blade. Just pitch it out, let it sink down to the crappie's level, and slow roll it back. My other approach is to have a small jig, like this flat fry jig, and I'll have a clip-on bobber. See, this is a Northland Light Bite clip-on bobber. And I used this the other night, and that's how deep they're up in 1.5 foot water. And with the clip bobber, you could put it really close, and you'll notice I leave a little extra knot there in case I do need it to slip. The clip-on bobber looks like that in the packaging. I love it. They're weighted, and so you can really lob it out there. So you're shore fishing, you're boat fishing, you can cover some water, that gets it out there, and you don't need sinkers when you use that. And then I'll have a typical slip bobber. This is a light bite slip bobber, and I have a knot above it, a little swivel, and a little segment of line to my lure. And here I have a Northland flat fry jig, and look at those little tiny eyes. Those eyes really draw attention from a great distance for crappies. Add a little wax worm like I have here, and you're in business. Or a small crappie minnow for the light biters. As you get shallower and shallower, you'll find that crappies might be feeding on little midge fly hatches. I like to set one up with the Crappie King jig. So that doesn't have any feathers. And I'll dorsal hook a small crappie minnow, or add about 3 wax worms on there, and I'm in business. And this is all set up on an Avid panfish rod. Longer rods, 8 and 9 foot, are nice to have if you're craning fish out of milfoil, emergent vegetation, or some surviving vegetation that's growing really fast. Hope to see you on the water. Have a great spring.
But one thing's for sure, bro knows panfish.
This week we're featuring the Stormskin Gale Jacket in our Blackfish giveaways. Now the Stormskin Gale Jacket is everything you want in an all-weather jacket. It's windproof, it's 100% waterproof, and it's got an ultra-warm, soft fleece liner. It's got Stormskin technology that's going to keep you warm, dry, and comfortable no matter what weather you're fishing in. Now to win this awesome jacket, you can scan the QR code below, or you can head to AnglingBuzz.com.
And now it's time for our cool products. We're going to start off with the Rapala Shad Rap Elite. This comes in 2 different sizes. Now, the topic of today's show is crappie, but this is mainly for walleye. This is an awesome bait. It's built on the tried and tested Shad Rap profile. It's a little bit heavier, denser than the regular original Shad Rap. It has a through wire construction. It's made of premium balsa wood. A few different ways you can fish this. You can cast this. You can fish it like a crankbait on a slow, steady retrieve. You can also fish this like a jerkbait. And you can also flatline troll this, put this behind planer boards. Just a lot of different uses for a lot of different fish, but especially this time of year for walleye. The Rapala Shad Rap Elite. And next, a couple different jig options from Northland Tackle. Now these are both tungsten jigs, one short shank and one regular. Now the short shank, this would be great for live bait fishing. Both of them feature a little keeper on there to keep either your soft plastic or your live bait on the jig. And tungsten is 30% more dense than lead. So what this can allow, if you're snap jigging, say soft plastics, you're gonna get a faster fall that can really trigger fish, especially walleye, to bite. The denser tungsten really helps to resonate the bottom content up through the rod, so you know when you're fishing over gravel or rocks. The regular tungsten jig, this is perfect for soft plastics, swim baits, little boot tails, and other impulse plastics from Northland Tackle. 2 great options from Northland Tackle. And next, from Big Bite Baits, this is the Sensation Tail Cutter. Now this is a pretty bulky bait, and this is made for big crappies. You can fish this on a jig head. It's infused with the Big Bite Sensation formula to help trigger bites. You can see the back of the bait right here kind of has a unique design with kind of the slant cut on the back. There's a variety of different color options that are available, and this is really made for big slab crappie fishing. The Sensation Tail Cutter from Big Bite Baits. And up next, it's our technique of the week.
You know, over the years, I spent a tremendous amount of time on the water. And in that time, I've actually been stopped by Coast Guard and a conservation officer for a boat inspection. And what I have laid out here is all the things that I carry in my boat, 9 of which are mandatory that you should always have in your boat, and then 4 or 5 other things that you should have in your boat for safety. Number 1, a life jacket or PFD for every individual in the boat. I carry 5 of them. Throwable flotation device. I actually have mine with a rope attached. You also have flares. These are mandatory. There's a variety of them. Then I also carry an up-to-date first aid kit. Another thing you have to have in the boat is a sound signaling device. This happens to be a small air horn. Here I have my boat insurance certificate and a watercraft registration. Kill switch, mandatory for both tiller as well as console boats. An up-to-date fire extinguisher. It's also good to carry a small selection of the right tools to deal with any type of problems you might have on the water. Believe it or not, one important thing that I carry and I use every year is a pair of jumper cables to either start my engine or somebody else who might be stranded on the water with no power in their battery. Another item that I also carry, which is really nice, is a marine band radio. This is actually great as an emergency telephone as well as up-to-date current weather conditions. Last but not least, short dock ropes as well as boat bumpers to minimize dock rash. One of the most important things you do when you leave the dock is come back to it safely.
It's extremely important to make sure you have all the proper safety equipment in your boat. And as always, we want to remind you to help stop the spread of aquatic invasive species anytime you're leaving any body of water. Remember, clean, drain, dry. And visit AnglingBuzz.com for more in-depth guide reports, videos, and much more. And also our social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram, and simply AnglingBuzz. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.